Okay, got another Bible contradiction. This is regarding whether or not God sleeps. So in the Bible, in Psalm 121, verse 4, we read, "Behold, he who keeps Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep." Okay, so we got a statement made in the Psalms that God does not sleep. He who keeps Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. He's not asleep on the job, so to speak. Whereas in Psalm 44, and they say here in verse 23, the sons of Korah make an observation where they say, "Awake, why do you sleep, O Lord? Arise, do not cast us off forever." So, does God sleep, or does God seem to be sleeping and needs to wake up? This is a contradiction. Well, let's first start off with what a genre is. When we're talking about the books that the Bible was written in, the categories are in three different groups: history, poetry, and prophecy. History tells you what happened, poetry is observations or human perspectives on what happened, and of course prophecy is God's perspective on what happened. When you speak on behalf of God, that's his first-hand impression. We certainly can take doctrine and beliefs away from the Psalms, but this presentation of God both being asleep and awake, not capable of slumber or sleep, are both in a set context, which is the Psalms, song lyrics. And if you note the sons of Korah, and I encourage you to read Psalm 44 on your own time, they are reflecting on when, of course, at this time in their history, God isn't delivering them, where in times past he has. They're wondering, why does God seem inactive? And they use the poetic expression sleep, or inactivity. Whereas in the previous psalm, Psalm 121, verses 3 through 4, we note that God's preservation of Israel is constant. Now, to say that this is a contradictory revelation about God needing a nap, like the Norse gods or something, is to fail to understand what God even is. He's not a biological being that needs to rejuvenate or flush out all of the harmful proteins in his spinal column. He's a non-physical entity. He's not capable of sleep because God, in his full nature and essence, doesn't require that. He doesn't have a body. Jesus, when he incarnated, certainly required physical sleep, but that's just a part of being human. When we say that God in his nature doesn't sleep, though, that's not in any way invalidated by either of these options, because Psalm 121 is describing God as someone who is watching the city, and you don't want a guard asleep on the job. He does his job well, protecting Israel. When Israel is being judged in Psalm 44, the descendants of Moses' cousin Korah, who led a rebellion against him, by the way, were ultimately reflecting on why are things going the way they are now. God seems to be asleep. But once again, these are observations, and as they're honestly bringing their perspective to God, all you need to do to recognize that both of these are not making emphatic statements about God's need for sleep is because they're both in the context of poetry. Misrepresenting the genre is not a contradiction of thoughts and ideas. Factual statements about God can be found in there, but you have to properly represent what God is first, as well as a contradiction itself. This isn't a violation of the second formal law of logic, A does not equal non-A. Two things in the same way and in the same sense can't both be true at the same time, cancel each other out, because both of these are in expressive language. If this was in the historical section, Genesis through Esther, that would be curious. If this was in the prophetic section of Isaiah through Malachi, we'd still need to know the context of when these were being spoken about. If God's described as a watchman, he's not literally guarding the walls of Jerusalem, but he does his job well, like a watchman should, not sleeping on the job. When Israel is making the observation and thought, "Why do you sleep, O God? Awake," they're asking him to be active, not to be roused from his sawing of logs.